We continue our reading of God's Dream for You, The Chosen, a morning devotional by author Dwight K. Nelson. Our reading today, October 5, A Wail of a Mobilization, Part 3. But Nineveh has more than 120,000 people who cannot tell their right hand from their left, and many cattle as well. Should I not be concerned about that great city? Jonah 4, verse 11. That's the last line of Jonah's epic narrative. The story ends with a single question, number 13, from the lips of God. Should I not be concerned about that great city? The end. Hasn't the time come in history when God's last question must become our first? Of this planet's nearly 7 billion inhabitants, it is now estimated that 47% of them live in a city, not a suburb, town, village, or the country. In fact, Earth's cities have become so large that 438 of them are now being called agglomerations, defined as a continuous spread of inhabited buildings and streets. Among the world's largest agglomerations are Tokyo, Mexico City, Seoul, New York, Sao Paulo, Mumbai, Delhi, Shanghai, Los Angeles, Osaka. Just these 10 cities contain more human beings than half the U.S. population. If the cry of God that ends the book of Jonah was for only one city, can you imagine the depth of the divine cry today? Want to know how God really feels about cities? Quote, as Jesus came near and saw the city, he wept over it. End quote. Luke 19:41. There are only 2 instances in the gospel record where Jesus is described as weeping, once over a dead friend and once over a lost city. Bob Pierce, the founder of World Vision, used to say, "We must come to the place where what breaks the heart of God breaks our hearts too." Maybe that's why these words were written more than a century ago. Work the cities without delay, for time is short. At such a time as this, every hand is to be employed. The burden of the needs of our cities has rested so heavily upon me that it has sometimes seemed that I should die. Evangelism, page 33 and 34. But rather than being discouraged by this immense urban challenge, we need to recognize how God has set us up for success. The English language is now spoken by the educated in nearly every city on earth. Mass communication now enables us to instantly disseminate our message anywhere. And ours is now a universal urban culture with a youth generation that speaks the same cultural language globally. God has set his kingdom up, not for failure, but for success. If there's anything to learn from the story of Jonah, it's got to be, let's go. This concludes our reading today of God's Dream for You, The Chosen.